So when I was in elementary school, the third, fourth, and fifth graders ate lunch together in the cafeteria at once. And the girls that I was quote unquote friends with sat at this one table. And across from this table, it was a bunch of third grade girls that occupied that table. So when I moved to this school in the middle of the year in fifth grade, on the first day, I was at lunch and the girls I was with were talking, and it was just kind of awkward, at least for me. Like, on your first date, it can be really awkward to be a part of the conversation with a bunch of girls that already know each other and have inside jokes and shit like that. You know what I mean? So I just kind of stayed quiet, nodded along to their conversation. And I was just looking around the entire cafeteria at the people at different tables, just trying to make a sense, get a sense of how things worked here. And then I looked over at the younger third grade girls sitting at the table across from me, and one of them was already looking at me. And when I saw her, I guess I expected her to look away. But she didn't. And I don't know, like we just ended up looking at each other for a couple of seconds. And then she smiled and I smiled back. And then I just, I had to break eye contact because I don't know, I couldn't handle it anymore. Yes, I'm telling you about the time I was intimidated by a third grader. What about it? But anyway, so that was that. And at the end of the day, I got on the bus and I saw her sitting in the front of the bus and she saw me and then she gave me the exact same look again and then smiled. And I smiled and then I continued walking past her to go sit somewhere in the back. And later on, she got off at the same stop as me and I realized that her sister was actually in my grade and they lived in my neighborhood. So I figured that she smiled at me because she knew who I was and she knew that I was new because, her sister was in my grade and she must have told her and she was just being a polite person in general. But then the next day, she did it again. And then the day after that. And then every single day, it just became this thing that we did where she always got to the cafeteria for lunch before me and she would be in the middle of a conversation or eating her sandwich and she'd just stop and look up at me and stare for a couple seconds, and then she'd smile and then wait for me to smile, and she would never break eye contact. Like, I always had to do it first, which made me feel bad, but hey, someone's got to. Like, we can't keep staring at each other across the tables. Like, what is that? And then all throughout the rest of my fifth grade year, before I graduated from elementary school, we just look at each other several times. And yeah, like throughout the day, it was just this whole ass thing that we did. Like, I don't know how to describe it, man. I just think it was like the funniest thing ever. And sadly enough, like pretty soon after like a couple like months or weeks of me at the school, I kind of like sort of distanced myself from the girls that were at my table. And I kind of like actually ate a lunch alone. Like I sat up alone on the other end because it was empty. But she never stopped smiling at me. In fact, I think she smiled at me more because she probably felt bad that I was sitting alone. And, she was a cute girl. She had these like two little moles like near her mouth. And then when she smiled, her lips curved in between them. And oh my God, this sounds so creepy. This sounds it sounds like, oh my God, like I'm preying on a third grade girl. But obviously when you're looking at someone every single day and all you guys do is smile at each other, you notice the details about each other, right? But yeah, she was very cute, a cute little girl. And I just really appreciated her because in that lunchroom, I felt so alone. Like I felt like I faded into the background and no one noticed me. I was eating lunch every single day alone. And I don't mean this in like a weirdo romantic way. Obviously I don't. But looking back on it like years later, when she looked at me in that lunchroom, even though no one else around me noticed me, I just felt seen.